How do you build a community? Well, for one man, Alam Nabsa, the answer actually started in a place that had no community at all. His story it's just incredible. It takes us all the way from the institutional care system in Scotland to the very top of community leadership in England.
So to really get who Alam Nabsa is, you need to know this one thing first. In 2021, he won the National Cooperator of the Year award. I mean, that's a huge deal. That's kind of where his story peaks, but believe me, it is not where it begins.
And this quote, this is the key to everything. A stable, decent home is the foundation of a better life. It's so simple, but so powerful. And for him, this isn't just a nice idea, it's a belief that was forged by his own experience, and it's been the engine behind his entire life's work.
Right, so today, Alam Nabsa is this nationally recognized chairman, he's a published author, a huge advocate for housing that's run by the community. But how did the guy who would go on to build homes for hundreds of people even get started? To really understand the leader, we have to go back. We have to meet the child. And that story starts with 12 really formative years spent completely inside the Scottish care system.
The timeline of his childhood is, well, it's pretty stark. He went into the system when he was just 7 weeks old. His entire childhood, from then until he was 12, was spent moving between 3 different children's homes. He finally left the system at age 12.
And you have to understand the vibe of the time. This phrase, kids should be seen and not heard, that wasn't just some old-fashioned saying. It was basically the operating manual for the institutional world he grew up in. It totally defined the power dynamic for him and for countless other kids.
And this slide really lays out the central conflict of his entire life. On one side, you've got the world he was raised in, top-down, unstable, where kids were meant to be silent. And on the other side, the world he would spend his life building, democratic, stable, where residents had a voice. It's a complete 180-degree flip of his own childhood.
And maybe the most heartbreaking detail of his childhood is this. For more than a decade, 11 years, while living in this system, he had absolutely no idea he even had a family. Just think about that. Finding that out only after he left care would change everything for him.
So how do you build a new life on top of a foundation like that? Well, after he left care, Alam moved to Leicester. He became a professional carpet fitter, started a family. He was building that stable life for himself. But something completely unexpected was waiting just around the corner.
So, in 1995, he decides to join the management committee of his local housing co-op, and his rise was just meteoric. In a single month, 1 month, he was made the chair. And what was his very first move? He got other tenants involved, immediately building a whole new, energized team from the ground up. And that was just the start of a legacy that would go on for decades. As the chair, he wasn't just, managing buildings. He was carefully, thoughtfully building a real community, one brick at a time. The level of dedication here is just massive. For over a quarter of a century, he was there, providing that consistent, passionate leadership that you absolutely need to build a lasting community. And you can see the results in black and white. Under his leadership, the co-op grew to manage 118 homes. That's 118 families in the Highfields area of Leicester who got a stable, secure place to call their own. He was also incredibly savvy. He went out and secured millions of pounds in funding. And not for flashy projects either. This was for crucial stuff like insulation, which directly made people's homes better and helped them fight rising energy costs. When you look at the whole picture, his vision was so clear. He didn't just keep things ticking over, he totally transformed the place. He turned the co-op around, grew its housing stock by buying and fixing up derelict buildings, modernized everything, and, this is the most important part, he invested in the people. He created training to empower them, to give them a real say.
But building all those homes, that was only half the story. The other half involved a different kind of building project, rebuilding and reclaiming his own story, his own narrative.
Which brings us to a really powerful question, right? After an entire childhood where the main rule was be seen and not heard, how on earth do you finally find the confidence to speak up? For Alam Nabsa, the answer was to write it all down. He became an author. In 2020, he published 12 Years in Care, a really personal memoir. And it's not some simple story of hardship. It's much more nuanced. It really dives into the complex reality of his youth, that tension between some staff who were cruel and others who showed genuine kindness.
What's fascinating is this duality you see in his writing. With his memoir, he's looking back, he's processing his past, and he's bearing witness to what that life was like.
But then he also writes children's fiction, looking forward, creating these safe, nurturing worlds to teach self-reliance to a whole new generation.
And that, right there, is the ultimate triumph. The child who was told day in and day out to be silent has now found his voice so powerfully that he's a published author. And he's even got a sequel in the works to explore that life-changing moment he discovered his family.
So when you step back and look at his whole life, you see this perfect synthesis. It's like every single challenge from his youth, the instability, the powerlessness, the silence, it all became the direct fuel for his life's mission. In the end, he leaves behind this amazing twofold legacy. There's the tangible one. You can literally see it in the streets of Leicester, 118 stable homes, a thriving co-op. And then there's the narrative legacy, right there on the page, a powerful memoir that finally gives a voice to the unheard.
Alan Knopf's journey, from a kid in care to a chairman and an author, it really leaves you with a pretty profound thought. It makes you wonder, what if the most difficult parts of our past aren't just things that shape us? What if they're actually the perfect blueprint for the unique, powerful contributions we're meant to give to the world?